right, welcome back to another much delayed episode of What Are They Going to Say Now? Jay and Tony here.
What's up?
I'm sorry for the long delay between episodes. I had a bad cold, then I got allergies, and I was coughing so much that I actually caused short-term damage to my vocal cords.
Jeez.
And literally was whispering for several weeks. So that really it's hard to do a podcast. I wouldn't be able to make it through an episode without going into a coughing fit, and just you wouldn't even hear me. So what was the point? So we missed a lot. We missed like the NBA playoffs mostly.
Finals, championship.
Yeah,
you know.
It was a very boring playoffs. I mean, there were some good series. I mean, the Mavericks and Denver series was great.
That was a
back
really
and
good
forth.
series, yeah.
Although not many great individual games. A lot of swings back and forth and blowouts.
Yeah.
But it was a good series. I just never felt like. I felt like starting the playoffs, Boston had it in the bag. And I never felt like anyone was a good threat to them, mostly because Denver, it's really hard to repeat.
Yeah.
And they lost two important players from their championship team. Brown in particular was kind of overlooked. Like, that was a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard to repeat. You play so many games. You have a shorter offseason. The last team to repeat was the KD Warriors, and they almost had a third time, but then injuries, because that happens. You play so many games, injuries happen. Before that, it was the Lakers in the early 2000s. It's just hard to repeat.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I'm still surprised Denver lost the way they did. I mean, I guess they just ran into
blowing a 20-point lead in Game 7.
I mean, to me, they ran into a really tough matchup, and I think that was like the thing that just kind of, Minnesota was just on a crazy run and just matched up super well with them. But it was still surprising to see, because I picked Denver to win the whole thing, actually, to repeat. So like when they went down, I was like, anything can happen now.
I had Boston beating Denver in the finals. Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah.
This Boston team was due. People forget how young Brown and Tatum were when they joined the league. So they've been around a while, but they're like 26, 27. That's entering your prime. That's younger than most. Curry was 27, 28. LeBron was 27, 28 when they won their first chip. I think Boston 2 years ago, they got a little cocky. They were young and boisterous and a little cocky. And then Curry went supernova and put them in their place hard.
Yeah.
And that humbled those guys, and probably a really good lesson for them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they matured. And I do have to say,
Drew Holiday, man.
An all-time off-season by Brad Stevens prior to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Marcus Smart, fan favorite. You rip the Band-Aid off, trade him. You bring in Drew Holiday. Underrated.
They had him last year, too.
Oh, that's right.
That wasn't
they brought him in. You're right. You're correct about that. They brought in Porzingis.
Yeah.
Took a shot on him. He played pretty well in Washington.
Yeah.
And then the right system really unlocked him.
Great this year.
And the most underrated move that really saved them was bringing back Al Horford. Horford, who had been there before, he's in his late 30s, but Porzingis doesn't play in the playoffs. He doesn't come back to the finals. If they don't have Horford, who was playing 40-plus minutes a game at 38 years old, they don't make it. They don't make it to the finals.
Yep.
So Horford was key. And some of those games he was getting targeted at the end because he was exhausted.
Yeah, and he's older.
But he did well enough to right the ship. And then Porzingis came back. And the finals was so boring because in the first quarter with Porzingis back, they just spanked Dallas so hard you went, oh, this is over.
Yeah.
You're like, this is over. Dallas has nothing.
Yeah.
So
and if it wasn't a night where, Kyrie and Luka were going off basically for 30, 40 points each.
Right.
They weren't beating Boston. And it's hard to do with their defense. So.
And so it's easy to hate a Boston team, but I don't hate this team because they were built the right way. Their core, they drafted.
Yeah.
They're a likable team. They're a likable Boston team, actually. So,
I don't know if I can go all the way with you there, but I mean, I wasn't, angry that they won. I just was
I would say they were deserving.
Indifferent.
They did it the right way.
They were deserving. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
So, and then we can get into Boston a little more later too, but we talk about next year's favorites. I mean, they re-signed Derek White. They pretty much are going to run it back.
Yeah.
And now they have that monkey off their back.
Yeah.
They can be scary, but on the other hand, it's really hard to repeat. No one is, we've had two teams repeat in the last 2.5 decades, and even before that, going back to the Jordan Bulls, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in 25 years, 2 teams have repeated.
Right. The Spurs
so
never did.
It's hard.
Right?
It's hard.
Spurs won all those titles and never repeated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's you're right.
So Lakers and Warriors since the Jordan Bulls, 98.
That's wild.
That's wild. It's hard. I mean, you have a shorter off season, and also you have a target on your back all year. Your games are tougher. People are coming at you.
We know about that.
We saw with the Warriors. It's like the 2019 Warriors against Toronto. You say, well, if KD and Klay don't get injured, we probably win that series, which is true. But on the other hand, they had been to 5 straight finals. That's wear and tear. Yep. That's in the same amount of time period. You're playing an entire extra season.
Mm-hmm.
That's so many games. Someone's going to get hurt. So it's kind of like, it sucks, but I mean, it's just the reality of playing that many games.
Yeah. 100%. Yep.
And by the way, one thing I will say, I don't like this narrative of people trying to discount Boston for having an easy road to the finals. They were a dominant 1 seed. That's the point.
Yeah.
You have an easier road as the 1 seed. That's why the regular season does matter. That's the dumbest argument.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would say was,
yes, there was injuries.
Yeah. Just like LeBron going to, X number straight finals and kind of like having that as bragging rights. It's like, yeah, dude, you were in a soft Eastern Conference and, you got there. How many did you win? You know what I mean? Like when you actually look at the facts, but I hear what you're saying. Like you just got to get there basically.
Yeah.
Like,
also the Eastern Conference, isn't as soft as it used to be at all. Now,
that's true.
There was injuries.
Yeah. I was going to say this year, their run.
But Boston was dominant. They won 66 games?
Yeah.
64. I mean, they were dominant all year. They were the best team. They deserved it. I don't want to hear anyone trying to knock that. I think you can only beat who's in front of you.
Yep.
By the way, those other teams, if healthy, they would have beat them anyway. And they were missing Porzingis. He's kind of their third best player.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of like needs and,
Yep.
So they got through that too. And then look when they had Porzingis back, how dominant they were. Dallas had no chance.
Right. That was I think their only opportunity was if Porzingis is actually hurt or, not playing up to his capabilities. But once he came back and was dominating, it was like, this is a wrap.
It was over. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Klay Thompson signs with the Mavericks. The writing was on the wall kind of during the season. I think it starts with the extension given to Jordan Poole, the extension given to Draymond.
Yeah.
And then Klay's like, what about me? Now, they did offer him before last season 2 years, $48 million, a very fair offer.
Yeah.
He turned it down. I think he was thinking, why is it not at least 3 years? And they probably should have offered him 370. 3 years, 70. And he probably would have taken it, I think. I know it's hard to tell.
I don't know. I maybe.
I don't blame Klay for this. I don't blame the front office for this. It's just kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
I do think the front office misread Klay a little bit. It wasn't about money either. It was about respect.
Respect, yeah.
And he just felt slighted by it, especially then this free agency comes and he's on the back burner a little bit. Like, we have to see what we're going to do with Paul George maybe or whatever we'll get to after that. And he's done at that point. Like, he felt so disrespected. And I get that because he's done so much, but I also understand the Warriors' point of view because, like, dude, you're not the same player
he's not.
You were, especially defensive. Like, he put up his numbers offensively last year, led the league in 3-pointers and at a good percentage. He's not the same defensively.
He's not.
He's just not, which is, it happens, especially at that age with the injuries he's gone through. He doesn't have the same quickness on defense. He's still decent. Yeah. But it's just unfortunate. And also here's the thing. I think it would be harder for him to actually end his career in Golden State, given what he was, and to be in the same uniform and just not be that same guy. And there's a lot of pressure on him. And you could see, everyone talks about his over 10 performance in the playing game. He was pressing. He was pressing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is he was pouting so much of last year. And it's been reported since, like, behind the scenes was even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are bad vibes. Like, someone even said, somebody I forget said, like, dealing with Klay this last year has been just as difficult as Draymond's antics.
Right,
It's just
right.
not as loud and on court. It's other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I kind of believe it.
Yeah, to me, it almost just seemed like it was heading down this path, either from him not liking the offer. To me, you're right. It didn't really come down to the money as much with him. I think he's
always been about being respected or disrespected.
Yeah.
Look at the jersey behind me. Thompson 77. That's not his number.
Right.
If you know what that is, it's because he wasn't listed in the top 75 of all time, and he was pissed about being slighted.
Yeah. Which has nothing to do with the Warriors, but
to be fair, that fueled him to play really well in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a key part of that fourth ring.
100%. Yeah.
You know, but that's the point. He's been about that. And there's certain guys you can be businesslike with, and there's certain guys where you have to understand it's not about money, it's about respect and that sort of thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it was more like you said, he felt slighted. Whether he was actually slighted or not, he felt slighted. And I think he let that affect his game on the court. I think behind the scenes, you know, he wasn't the best person to be around, I think, the last year.
We've all heard that during the last year. He was grumpy as hell.
You know, I just hate that it ended this way after such a great run, right? It's like
I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, listen,
and the Warriors said already they're going to retire. When he's done, they're going to retire number 11.
I think he, for whatever reason, just said, you know what, this isn't working for me. I'm not happy, you know. And I think we have to think at some point, if a guy isn't happy where he's at and wants to move on, you gotta, you know, respect that.
Clay's one of my favorite all-time players. He's one of my favorite all-time players. 100%. I'm actually I'm not that disappointed it's working out like this because I think it might just be best for both sides.
Yeah.
For him to go out this way.
There could be, you know, he could go to Dallas and it not work out too, you know, and he may say, dang, I wish I would have just stuck it out. You know, he may never say that publicly. I'm just saying, like, you don't know.
Yeah. Grass is always greener.
Yeah. You know, you kind of, you can build yourself up and say, oh, you know, they don't respect me. You know, I can do more than they're letting me do, which to me is ridiculous because I feel like the Warriors gave him every opportunity to, you know, perform like to his old self. And I just feel like if it's system, whatever the reason was, he just wasn't able to do it. You know, maybe the Warriors were asking too much of him, you know, asking him to be a number 2 guy.
But then they were trying to make him. They were trying to make him the 6th man off the bench, and he was furious.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It felt like that nothing they could do would please him and make him happy, and that's why we are where we are. But you know what?
It's difficult to be an elite athlete.
It is.
Be declining in your career, and you can't do it the same way anymore.
Especially
it's so
after
hard.
An ACL / Achilles back to back. Yeah. Right. And age. I mean, this is just what happens.
Father time is undefeated.
It's undefeated. But you know what, man? I just wanted to say, man, like, I want to give this run and Klay in particular, like, his flowers, man, because you think about the run that they had, right? The 4 titles in 8 years.
It was so fun.
The Klay moments, like the moments where he stamped his dominance on
Game 6.
Game 6 Klay. I mean, the Dallas, you know, shots, just like, basically every moment when the Warriors were done and, you know, we were saying, you know, they just didn't have it this year. Klay would pull something out of his ass.
Yeah.
And
he really was,
you know,
he really was
nobody goes
important.
unconscious like Klay.
I went to one of those games against Dallas in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
He was huge. He was huge.
Yeah. And I mean that this is like kind of, recent Klay that we're, you know what I mean? That where we're kind of like, hey, he's not the same guy. He still pulled it out and had amazing performances. So, you know, I think we both are, you know, the situation sucks. It does, man. Like all day yesterday, I'm just reading stuff. People are texting me and I'm just like, dude, this is, you know, it feels like,
I'm less upset about it than I thought I'd be.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It just, again, I felt
Maybe
like
you
I saw this.
anticipated it. Yeah.
I anticipated it. I feel like it's been a while. Like if you told me 6 months ago, I would have said, yeah, I could see that just with everything. One thing I wanted to dispel, people are like, why is Steph not stepping up for his splash brother, right? So this morning, this comes out, Anthony Slater, Warriors insider, very reliable source.
Oh, yeah.
Says Klay very specifically asked Steph to stay out of it and not exert influence on the front office.
Wow.
Steph could have forced the issue, but he wanted the front office to want him without Steph having anything to do with it.
That's interesting.
So people bagging on Steph, there you go.
Yeah. I think if Klay had wanted Steph to exert his power and basically get a deal done, he would have.
So that's another example of it not being about money, about being respected.
Yeah. So it's
everyone's so quick to try and like bury Steph. He's like, him and Tim Duncan are like the best two teammates of all time. Stop trying to.
Oh, that's. I mean,
put this on Steph.
We're used to
that's
this
ridiculous.
With Steph, right? We're used to everybody thinking either he's not doing enough, he's doing too much. It's just Steph just does his thing behind the scenes. So
yeah,
but yeah, man,
I think, I mean, okay, it's known, and then Slater also talked about all the major moves the Warriors make. Steph is in the loop the whole time on all of it. Literally, the only time, and this is pure speculation, there's only one time that I think Steph maybe pushed some influence, and he was like, "Get rid of Jordan Poole." Because we saw him get so frustrated with Poole's decision making and stuff. Remember throwing the mouth guard out into the stands, that whole thing?
Yeah.
That's the only time I think Steph was like, we gotta get rid of this guy. Like because I would believe that, because Poole was, because that's how all the fans felt too. We're like, Jesus Christ, what is Poole doing? And also I'd like to get rid of this notion that, the Warriors lost Klay and CP3 for nothing. No, we got CP3. That was to get out of that Jordan Poole contract. That was so horrible. Like we took CP3, it was like whatever, and then we can move on and get that salary cap back. And not to mention,
they didn't really get that salary cap flexibility back though. That is the problem to me.
Well, not exactly. Well, kind of. And then Klay was actually a sign and trade, and we got mid-level exception, valuable, doesn't count on the cap, which we didn't have.
They got a TPE
and we're hard
too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, TPE.
Yeah.
And we're already hard capped at the second apron, which we were going to be anyway. We don't care about being hard capped there. I think the average NBA fan has not grasped how big a deal the new CBA is. The punishments for the
really
first
bad.
apron are one thing. The second apron is essentially a hard cap.
It's a hard cap. That's exactly what I was just going to say.
People don't understand how bad it is. If you go over this, if you go over the second apron twice in 4 years, you are so fucked. Like it affects your draft picks down the road.
Wow.
You can't, like, you are so limited. It's not just about money, and the money's brutal on top of it more than ever before. The money doesn't matter. You're so restricted as a team for what you can do.
Thanks, CJ McCollum.
And people don't realize how bad it is. It is a hard cap.
Yeah.
You might see a team go once over the second apron. You're not going to see a team go twice in 4 years.
Wow.
Or you are in purgatory for several years. You are so screwed.
Yeah.
This is with your draft picks, mid-level exceptions gone, trade exceptions are gone. Even you can't even sign players off of waivers. You cannot combine contracts to make the money work in a trade. And the trade has to be an exact salary match down to the penny, meaning it's almost impossible.
You know what's funny?
You were so handcuffed. People don't realize how big a deal that is.
Yeah.
You were handcuffed beyond belief.
They made this contract to be a warrior killer contract.
It's actually killing all.
It's killing the league.
The Warriors already had the Warriors already had their run. Do you know who's pissed about it? Is like the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, you can't keep the guys that you drafted, and
ACP's gone.
Yeah.
ACP's gone. That's a huge loss.
The Knicks, I'm sure, would like to have signed Hartenstein.
The Knicks did all right, but
they did all right. But I'm just saying,
this is going to limit.
They would have been able to get them.
This is going to limit Boston's window. I think they're probably the favorites for next year.
You're not going to see any more dynasties. Is what?
Or it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
We might not see another dynasty until they have a new CBA. It's so restrictive. Or someone has to draft like crazy.
Yeah. Yep. But man, just on Klay, man, we're still huge fans of his. It's not like F that guy. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a lot of that online, and I'm like, that's just stupid. Like
that's bandwagon fans.
It's bandwagon. It didn't end the way we wanted to end, but listen, he's a legend. He's getting a statue. He is getting a statue.
100%.
He's getting his jersey in the rafters. To me, you know what I mean? Like, it's just he is a foundational piece of Golden State Warriors history. So
So let's talk about quickly Dallas after this trade. Klay is a huge fix for them on offense.
Yeah,
that's what they need is a shooter for space, some more shooting. They needed that third scoring threat. Great for Dallas. However, on defense is a real problem. Luka's not a great defender. Kyrie is a horrible defender, and Klay is not what he used to be. They're going to have to win some high scoring games.
And they promised Klay a starting spot, is what I heard.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it.
But that kind of limits your. If you were kind of hoping to have him in there as just kind of a spot shooter, like he's going to be playing more than that. So they're going to have to figure that out.
But he is kind of going to be a spot shooter. Between Kyrie and Luka, they want the ball.
Yeah, and
not to mention Klay doesn't
third option right now.
He doesn't want the ball anyway. Yeah, he never did. He just like that game
shots.
where he scored a crazy number of points and he only held the ball for like a ridiculously short amount of time.
4 dribbles or something crazy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's a good fit for him, but defensively that's going to be tough for that team. I don't know. We'll see. Again, they might have to win some really high scoring games.
Yep. Absolutely.
But I don't see how this is going to help them against Boston if they have the rematch.
No. I mean,
they'll help them offensively because they really did stifle. Boston really did stifle them offensively, and being able to kick it out to Klay and drop some threes would help.
Mm-hmm.
But Boston ran over them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like Dallas's some of their other pieces too, like Lively. You know what I mean? Like this young guy who has a lot of like capabilities. But I think you're right. I think they're years away.
But they also lost, what's his name? Their other guard, who was like their best perimeter defender. He's gone. I forget who it is. Sorry, but they lost a guard who's a good defender.
Okay.
So that hurts them too on defense.
So yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Warriors. So this is kind of interesting. So they made a play at Paul George, which I kind of liked. Now in hindsight, hearing that the rumors of what they offered was incorrect. Kuminga was never part of the deal.
Yeah, that
deal makes way more sense.
Crazy.
The deal that was rumored with all it's like Moody, Wiggins, Kuminga, and like 2 draft picks from Paul George on the. I was like, that
basically
doesn't
our
make
whole
sense.
Team except Steph.
So that's false. That's not what was offered.
Right.
Like, didn't make any sense. Paul George is 34. First of all, I don't know why the Clippers didn't just give him the 4 years. I mean, the Clippers are left.
I mean, it's very similar to the Warriors situation, right?
No, but the Clippers are left without holding a chair, like without a chair. They're I don't know what they're doing.
What does Kawhi have left?
3 years. They extended him to 3 years.
I think they were trying to match.
I know, but at a certain point, you just suck it up.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
So here's the thing, and we talked
about
this.
Put him over the second apron. Was that maybe what they were? Were they coming up against that?
I forget the deal, and again, that probably played into it.
Baldwin's got money, but you're talking about the penalties of second apron being that extreme.
The old CBA deal, it was about financial punishment with going over the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they changed it to have it's maneuverability and player trades and options punishment.
So you're basically mortgaging your future for a short term.
It's not about, they realize that all these NBA value teams, franchises have so much value and they have such FU money. They're like, okay, whatever. Like Joe Lacob have been doing with the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's like, no, now we're going to hamstring what you can do. And that has far more impact than money, and the money's brutal, but so I don't know. Clippers let them walk, but then they have Kawhi. They re-signed Harden. It's a weird. I don't know what they're.
Westbrook might be on the move too, right? I was hearing that they were
talked
looking
about him
for
going to Denver too, potentially, which is an odd fit, but I don't know, to run their second unit.
Apparently wants to have him, so
how many teams have? Oh, we're going to take in Westbrook. He's going to run the second unit.
Lakers
and
Lakers.
How many teams are going to do this? It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It worked in OKC because you had Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
young.
Well,
Westbrook,
I mean, he was a young
Durant.
Westbrook. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how many teams are going to try. It's like the crazy hot chick, and then like someone dates her and like she's insane,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
then
can
someone's
save
like,
her.
I'm gonna take a shot. I think I can handle it and change her.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
But
think
so
on the so you started with the Warriors, right? You were
yeah,
saying
let's go
kind
back to
of
the Warriors.
that deal kind of wasn't what they said it was.
Yeah.
And I think we were both kind of like Paul George would have been an interesting piece with Steph and Draymond, but I think I was okay with, that's fine that didn't work out.
Well, and I've been far more in on Lauri Markkanen.
I was going to bring him up. Lauri Markkanen, I think is
Markkanen. Sorry, I almost messed his name up.
No, you're good.
Okay. Lauri Markkanen.
Amazing in Utah.
He's 7 feet tall. He can play a stretch four
or
a center. Out. He can play a center in the right lineup.
Yeah. Well, especially next to Draymond.
Next to Draymond.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have him and Draymond on the floor defensively. He's 27 years old, going right into his prime.
Yep.
He has 1 year left on his deal, $18 million, and then it's going to be a lot more after that.
Yeah.
So if you're Utah and you think he's going to leave anyway, you might be looking to move him. I don't know what the Warriors would have to give up, but I will say this: we're talking about the Warriors. Warriors letting CP3 walk, Klay walk. I pulled up. I hadn't actually looked at it. So right now, and I'm not counting the signing of Melton, right? Mm-hmm. The guard for like $12 million.
He's not making much yet.
And that doesn't count on the books, right? Because it's the exception, or is that not true? I forget. Okay, well, as it stands,
I'm not sure. I think it might.
As it stands right now, the Warriors have for this season 146 million committed. The first apron is about 179 million. So they actually have
they're under.
They have 33 million to play with still.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. When was the last time we actually had anything to work with, right?
Yeah.
The next year, 25-26, Curry, Wiggins, Draymond, Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, and Santos. Only 121 million on the books. And now keep in mind, we're not worried about the first apron. We're already going to be over it or whatever. We were with the second apron. We're hard capped at the second apron, which is 190 million.
Okay.
So really, I mean, actually the Warriors have about 43 million to play with this year. And then the next year they have 70 million.
Wow.
Because it's going to go up a little bit on what the apron is.
Mm-hmm.
They have 70 million to play with. That's a lot of money for a free agent target. So, I mean, I could kind of see trying to make a big, strong move to bring in Lauri from Utah and do that. Now, does that make you contenders this year? No. But then you see what happens with Kuminga.
Build around that, yeah.
Kuminga, Moody, because they're free agents after the season.
Well, I think
restricted free agents.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the problem with Kuminga and Moody in a Markkanen trade is they would probably out the door.
One of them's gone or both. Yeah.
So it's hard to even, basically if you pick up Markkanen, you're giving up on the.
No, you're right. I totally misspoke on that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what happened is they said, look, we'll make a little run at Paul George, see what happens. And I think they told Curry, like, look, we have to. They have enough. They actually are going to have a ton of flexibility with the cap after this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be 1 year. I'm actually okay with them. They're not going to be contenders next year. They're just not, barring some miracle growth, which I liked what we saw from Kuminga last year. I like some of what we saw from Moody. This might be the prove it year where it's let's see what we got with these guys.
If they don't get Markkanen, right? You're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
They might just run it like that and go, look, we're not going to contend. Do you want to screw up the cap situation or not?
I think
because they have a ton of cap flexibility for the first time in a long time.
I think the problem is that you're so late in Curry's career that
Curry's 36, but he's one of the most in shape players in the league. He takes such good care of himself. LeBron's 40.
Yeah.
Curry has 5 years. I don't know at what level, but he has 5 years.
Yeah.
He really does.
I just wonder
he just turned 36. He's a fitness freak.
Yeah.
He takes such good care of himself.
I worry about Curry's patience with not necessarily.
He's proven to be patient.
No, he was
very patient during that 2-year stretch, and then we won the chip.
He was. Hey, but he also had his Splash brother with him, and now he's gone. It just feels different to me. Like if we're not going all in on contending for these, we don't know how many years are left for Steph, but let's say a 3-year window maybe. Mm-hmm. Then I feel like he could just come to the point where he says, you know what, I can't go out like this, basically, kind of
Yeah,
like
no,
Dirk at the end of his career,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but also again, this cap room is really interesting. They haven't had this, so let's say they're going to make a run at Lauri Markkanen.
Hmm.
Markkanen, I always get his name wrong.
I think it's Markkanen.
Markkanen,
Yeah,
Markkanen. They're going to make a run to him, and if they get him, I will love that move.
yeah. And
You
I
throw
think
a
you have to do
7-footer,
whatever
he's a
you have
good
to do to get
passer.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually like all in on that move. I wanted him over Paul George from the beginning.
100%. Yep.
Paul George is 34 and wants 4 years. He's injury prone.
I think Markkanen's a better fit. A shooting
100%.
big, like the spacing on there would be amazing.
And defensively, Markkanen and Draymond on the floor, I like it.
Yeah,
with GP2 also. I like it. So, I mean, I'm just looking at that. Here's the other thing. So if they don't get Markkanen, what you can do is take advantage of how much cap space you have this season.
Mm-hmm.
If you like what you see with Kuminga and you believe in his future, which I do, I like Kuminga. What you can do is sign him, redo his deal, sign him to an extension, front load it this year, and then in the following 3 years, far lower salary. You're front loading him, and then you get him on the books. And then you still have a ton of cap flexibility. You have so much you can front load.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm a Kuminga fan. I think where I'm at, that this move, Klay leaving, just kind of how the free agent cycle is going. I am just kind of trying to brace myself for the fact that there's going to be some dark days coming. This could be the start of that. This could be a surprise year where they're
surprise
not.
Us.
They could.
You could say you're playing with house money.
Potentially. I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's always a possibility, right? That's you could find a combination that works, and maybe
I mean, not to mention
Kuminga takes a huge leap. Yeah,
Podziemski and the TJD draft was phenomenal.
It was. I just don't think that. I don't think that plus Steph. Plus, no other star is going to bring us back to contender status. So,
but
I'm already bracing for
Yeah, but we had 2 of the 10 best rookies in the league last year. Great,
they were great. They were asked to do way too much.
Yeah, and let's see what they do in year 2.
Yeah,
let's see what Kuminga and Moody do. I'm actually okay with a development year. Steph's reasonable. Steph's like, we're either going to contend or we're not. Why not be patient for 1 year? And then we have all this flexibility.
We've been saying that to him.
Assets.
We've been saying that to him for the last 3 years since we won the title.
No, we haven't. It's been 2 seasons since we won the title.
You're right. Okay, yeah. 2 seasons.
So, and they took a shot last year. They took a shot last year with bringing in Chris Paul, and said they tried, and everything just went haywire.
I think Steph will stay.
Steph is a warrior for life.
He wants to be a warrior for life. I hope that there's nothing that basically pushes him to the point of where he says, you know what, I gotta leave.
Anthony Slater talked about this morning on Russillo's podcast. And he goes, no, okay. Steph's warrior for life. The Warriors know he can't ever go anywhere. The fans would revolt. Like and also he talked about he was at the game where Dirk was back and being celebrated by the Mavericks, lifelong Maverick. He was also at a game earlier in his career when Kobe was back, lifelong Laker, and Curry noticed how awesome that was.
Oh yeah. I think that's what he wants. Yeah. I'm just saying
not to mention he just had a 4th kid.
Yeah.
Loves the Bay Area. They are rooted here. He doesn't want to uproot that. He's got 4 rings, 2 MVPs. Yeah. He's established. He doesn't have anything to prove.
I think a wild card in that, something that could happen is if Draymond does something kind of crazy, But I think at that point it would probably be them moving Draymond more than, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If it was a thing, especially without, the core is already broken up, right?
Yeah.
At that point, you're just, Draymond, you're done.
And by the way, people actually don't realize this. Behind the scenes, Draymond and Steph are closer than Steph and Klay. Because
they are.
Klay
is
single. Yeah. They both have kids. They're in family life. Yep. They're actually closer than Steph and Klay were. Just because of like with KD was out there single, and then Steph and Draymond had kids, and that was he talked about it, right? Yeah. So it's a little different.
I hear you. I just, my thing is this run's been so amazing, and I never wanted it to end. it may not be over, but it feels to me like if this is like the beginning of the end and kind of as being contenders, hey, we got a lot out of it.
2022 was such a cherry on top.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, that one was like,
if we didn't get that, it would have felt like, we should have gotten more than 3.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a cherry on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I said I feel like we're playing with house money.
Yeah,
and I think Curry probably
100%.
feels like that a little bit
Yeah.
too.
Yep. What do you think about Paul George in the East?
Philly signed with Philly because they all that cap space.
Yeah.
So I mean,
on paper,
on paper, Embiid, Maxey, who was last year's most improved player, deservingly so, got signed to a max deal, extension. And Paul George, on paper, it's great. Maxey can stay healthy. Can Embiid and Paul George?
All 3 at the same time. It was what you would need for a big run.
And they're definitely a little top heavy now. I don't know what kind of depth they have remaining. Obviously, Paul George is an upgrade over Tobias Harris.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, huge upgrade there. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Paul George can take some of the load off of Embiid because Embiid went into the ground. They worked him so hard. They overplayed him.
Yeah, yeah. And Maxey was trying, but there's only so much he can do too. So, but no, I think it can be a really good fit. It's just a matter of health, like we said. And then Boston's right there, man.
Yeah,
that's where you got to measure yourself against now in the East. Is like, do we have enough to beat Boston?
It's a matter of health, and it's wild. I mean, Embiid, they've still never been to a conference finals.
That's crazy. That's wild. Yeah, yeah. So who would you say? Because in the East, I know we were saying it's a lot better than it was. Who would you say are the top contenders to dethrone Boston?
We haven't talked about this. We mentioned Drew Holiday earlier. Man, Milwaukee getting rid of Holiday and bringing in Lillard.
They messed up. I told you that right away. I said that.
Oh, I did too. We were on the same page. Yeah. Okay. Because I said, well, that's great for spacing on offense, but what about defense? Yeah. That's the thing. It's amazing that NBA executives are almost like casual fans sometimes who get caught up in names and offensive numbers and they overlook defense.
I mean, I get it.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's not going to work on defense. It doesn't. Yeah, it's not going to work. And it didn't. And I know Giannis was banged up and that was the excuse, but also they were rolling in just behind Boston. Then they get rid of their coach and bring in Doc Rivers, of all people.
Yep.
And then they just were horrible after that.
Middleton always has health issues.
Yeah.
It just feels to me like I don't know if I can see them winning it again with the current kind of makeup and coach and like all Dame just never seemed like a fit there to me. So
get ready for Giannis if this is a dud of a season. Get ready for rumors about Giannis wanting out because he's one of the best players on the planet and he's kind of getting forgotten about now.
Yeah, 100%.
That's got to bug him. I know he's got a seemingly mellow ego, but he can't be that mellow.
I could see him looking to move if they have another disappointing season.
He's not getting younger, so I could see some frustration there.
I also think the Knicks are going to be a tough out, man.
Okay,
they were already
they gave a lot. Bringing in McCall Bridges, I think, was a fantastic trade.
Absolutely. Defense,
I think the Knicks
scoring.
I think they needed a piece like that, and they went all in. I think it's a great move. I think the Knicks are legit contenders with Bridges, and also
losing
Brunson.
Hartenstein hurts, but I think they'll be able to cobble together the front court enough.
Brunson turned into an absolute stud this past season.
Yeah, amazing.
He arrived.
Yeah.
So, and he's in his prime.
Yep.
You bring in Bridges now.
Yeah.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
That's a really good team. They could mess around with Boston. We'll see how that matches up.
I think that's the top 4, and I think you can just kind of like. I would say Milwaukee's probably at the bottom of that list to me now, but any of those I think, could contend for Eastern Conference Finals and Finals.
And we haven't heard any rumors about Milwaukee trying to do anything. I think they're kind of handcuffed.
Yeah, I was hearing a lot about Lillard. I was hearing a lot about Lillard wanting out to Miami and different things, but I don't know if you can't leave like that quickly. Basically, like that's just tarnishing your reputation to me. You know what I mean? Like,
is Miami might be have issues with the over the first cap and trade and making salaries match.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's wild that you have to make the salaries match exactly. So, for example, you couldn't trade. Okay, the Clippers couldn't trade Paul George straight up for Jimmy Butler because they both make 48 million something, but the salaries aren't an exact match. So literally they couldn't do it, which I think is so dumb. I think that's too restrictive on the CBA. It's like, it's like it has to match to the penny, really? Like that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
If you're under the apron, you can do within 25%.
Oh, okay. So it's a little
make it
less.
Work.
Yeah,
you can do cash, you can do other stuff. It's not as restrictive. Within 25% of the dollars can make it work. Exact matches are almost impossible. That's a pretty big penalty for being in the apron.
Yep. I mean, I think
it's a little too much. I think it should be
tough. Yeah.
I think they should have said like it can be within like 5% or something. Like because the way contracts work, it's the year you get your max deal, and then how that's distributed through the years. These contracts aren't going to line up unless the two players got their max deal the same year.
Yep.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Right.
Almost never.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. I think it's too restrictive.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's a bad CBA for the players. To me, I think the owners want on every issue. I think.
I think so. I mean, this is hard. It's hard less money. Less money is going to be spent.
Yeah.
It was a horrible CBA.
The owners won. So
yeah.
Is there any other trade stuff? I know there were some trades in the West.
Let's see. We talked about Bridges and the Knicks.
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans. I like that trade for New Orleans a lot from Atlanta.
Yep.
I think Atlanta sold low on Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it clearly didn't work.
Yeah.
He's a good player. It didn't work with him and Trae Young.
Yeah.
I think Trae Young, well, a good player is a bigger problem, frankly. Defensively, really lazy defensively.
Yeah.
And just one of the worst defenders in the league, possibly.
Yeah.
He takes plays off and just gets cooked.
Yeah, he's going to be good. I think they're going to be good, Pelicans, because they were already pretty tough.
They were already pretty good, and then bringing in that, I think that's a great trade for them.
Yeah.
The West is so stacked. That's the other thing with the Warriors.
Man. OKC.
Yeah. That's the other thing with the Warriors. Good. It's like you're not going to contend in this West right now with just some move. Frankly, if they had brought in Paul George, I don't think they're contending anyway. I think they're not. Well,
it would have
fringe
been better
contenders.
Yeah.
I don't know, 5 seed. Like it's like they didn't make the playoffs last year. They lost in the play-in game.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers might be a top seed now with Bronny James, man. That whole thing was like,
I feel bad for the kid.
It's not his fault. The whole thing, I was like, what are we doing?
The 55th pick, but like, let's be honest. If his last name wasn't James, he doesn't go in the top 1,000.
Was he averaging 4 points a game?
4 points a game at USC. He was like their 7th man.
He had the heart issue, right? And I mean, he could have died on the court. Like that was. I just feel
a little embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I mean, he's probably going to play in the G League, right? I guess because he is not ready for the NBA.
I don't know if they're going to put him in the G League. I don't know.
Speaking of the Lakers, I actually like the JJ Redick hire as coach. I like JJ. I think he's super smart.
I like him. I don't know if he'll be a good coach at all. I think you can be a super smart player and like
he can be a little curt.
Yeah.
For some of the younger players, which egos, I don't know.
Mike Malone's Kurt, you know what I mean? And kind of, I think there are guys like that. I just don't know. I don't like how it happened. I don't mind that he gets a shot at coach. I don't like that, he did a podcast with LeBron and is now coaching him. It just didn't sit right with me.
Supposedly him and LeBron didn't talk about it, which I don't believe for 1 second.
Come on now, Jay.
LeBron
reads all the books he brings in the press conferences. Come on,
first page.
Yeah, come on now. I mean,
like, why lie to us? Like, we all know you're full of it.
I mean, it could.
By the way, who cares if they talked about it? Who cares if they talked about it? I would expect them to talk about it. It's like lying for no reason.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
I actually think JJ will be a good coach. I think he's super smart.
He's a very smart
guy. He knows his X's and O's. He would go on First Take and make clowns out of Perkins and those other analysts who don't know what they're talking about.
Right. I don't know that makes you a good coach.
No, but he knows his X's and O's very well.
He does. So that'll be interesting situation there. OKC, I mentioned real quick. They picked up Caruso and Hartenstein. And they're
Right.
already a super deep team, right? With SGA and Chet and like some of these role players. Like OKC is, I might
Oh,
even have them
they're
like top of the West, like that good.
not to mention they got that experience last year.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and they probably
Well, I
should
mean
have beat
they finished. Didn't they finish
Minnesota.
second in the West? Were they second?
Second, yeah. Yep.
I mean, yeah, and I mean all those guys got more experience. Holmgren, SGA.
And just got more
SGA is going
deep.
to be
They
another
still have
MVP candidate.
flexibility. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a team that I'm like, ooh, okay. And then you got San Antonio,
And by the
Wemby.
way, it's crazy. You know what's crazy is OKC still has a ton of draft picks.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Granted,
saying.
Granted, they're good now, so the
Yeah,
draft picks have lost value.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But still,
You
I
know,
mean, they have things to package together and flexibility. Yeah, they're gonna be good, man. So it's gonna be an exciting year, man. I have no idea kind of and we're not done with free agency either. I feel like there's still moves to happen. Um, you know,
yeah.
we could finish recording this and, Lauri Markkanen can go to the whatever team, you know what I mean? Like, so we might have to jump on and do another free agency wrap up.
Oh, I'm sure we will. There's more
Yeah.
that's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
Well, and another thing we haven't talked about is the West is already stacked.
Mhm.
I actually really like the Spurs signing Chris Paul
That's
for $11 million for the
really
year.
good.
First of all, remember Lob City back on the Clippers with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin?
Yep.
Him throwing lobs to Wembanyama, dear God, that has potential. But more so, I think, okay, Wembanyama, immense talent, athletic freak. Somewhere around the halfway mark or after the All-Star break last year, you could see him start to figure it out. And you're like, oh my God, he's getting it really quickly. And then towards the end of the season, like the last several weeks of the season, he was one of the best players in the league. He was playing really well.
Yep.
He should have won Defensive Player of the Year over Gobert.
Agreed.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
He was just everywhere. And he can go on the perimeter, which is incredible. You have the best rim protector in the league who can go out to the perimeter.
Yep.
I don't see why he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year for like the next 10 years.
It's possible.
And
he'll be in contention at least.
He's going to be a perennial MVP candidate.
Yep.
He towards the end of this, remember he had that big game against the Nuggets towards the end of last season?
Mm-hmm.
And he was giving Jokic problems.
Oh, yeah.
And then taken on the other end. Wow. And he's still that young. And I think Chris Paul's gonna be good for him. He's gonna teach him a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say more of a mentorship role.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's
gonna teach him so much about cutting.
Yeah.
And different looks and like Chris Paul. We've hated Chris Paul for many years. We softened on him when he came to the Warriors last year, but he's still. But no one has ever doubted his basketball IQ.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's smart as hell. So I think it's a brilliant move to bring him in to mentor Wemby.
Yeah.
It's
short term, right? It's just a year rental, basically, to kind of
for $11 million,
whatever you can out of them, and just get that experience and expertise. So
I'm wondering if I haven't looked at their cap situation. It's got to be flexible. I kind of want to see the Spurs. I mean, Wemby's going to be a top 5 player in the league next year. He is, barring injury or something.
Yep.
Like he looked so good at the end of last season that it's like, and he started to figure that out quick for a rookie. I mean, the Spurs can't sit around and wait. Like, let's start making moves. When you have a top 10 player in the league, you gotta kind of go for it. Not go for it all in, but I would like to see them bring in somebody.
I feel like they're waiting. They're waiting for like a free agent signing that like fits perfectly into that.
Yeah. Well, it could be, let's see how they do to start the season. They could be a real interesting player around the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
Like if they're hanging around and they're like the 4 or 5 seed or something out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but like in the West, they're hanging. They can make a move, and I'm pretty sure they have some flexibility.
Oh, yeah. And I think people would want to go and play with Wemby, you know what I mean? And Chris Paul and like that whole situation. So, yeah. I mean, to me, it's just a matter of time before it's his league. So it's just like
he is living up to the hype.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and again, he's going to be the Defensive Player of the Year for years in a row.
Yeah. Yep. So
I mean, If you told me that this next season he finishes top 3 in MVP voting, I'd go, I could see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, the way he played last year, nothing's surprising me because I thought it was going to take him longer to figure it out.
No,
he already started to figure it out. He had a rough maybe couple months and then was like, oh, okay, I can just dominate.
And Popovich is the perfect coach for him, too.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So, yep, should be a fun, exciting year, man. So.
All right. Well, now that I have a voice again and we're going to be back on more of a regular basis.
Yeah.
We'll see. Things are kind of quiet in the sports world right now.
Yeah. Maybe we do some Olympics talk once that happens, right? Because I think they're...
yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, Paris, right?
Yeah, Paris.
I was in Paris in March, and they were starting to set things up already. It was kind of cool. I was like, that's where, it's going to be crazy in about 4 months here.
Yeah, we're going to hear a lot more about how dirty the Seine is for the swimmers.
That's right.
They want the swimmers to swim in the Seine, And it's like...
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It's like swimming in the East River.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not that bad, but...
I mean, it's not far off. But yeah, so we'll definitely try and jump on and do some more content this summer. So
yeah. All right. Well, those of you who are still around after our long hiatus, thanks for listening. And as always, if you haven't before, please subscribe on YouTube or Apple or pretty much everywhere. Spotify, we're everywhere. So
absolutely.
All right. Thanks for listening.
All right. Peace.